podcast, broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the heart of Dixie. I am Michael, and I am here with Liberty Larry.
How's it going?
It's going all right. Speak a little bit more because once again, we did not test the sound.
I was going to say, we didn't do no sound check.
Nope.
Like, I realized after you started doing the intro, I was like, oh, we didn't check the mics.
Yeah. No, it looks good. You're fine.
Yay.
I'm the one that looks a little quiet, but I'll try and figure it out as we go.
Yeah. Well, you can see the dial, so.
Yeah. And I have control of the dial.
Ah, nice.
But I try not to touch it, honestly.
It's better to just set it and forget it, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I want as little like cognitive distraction during the podcast as possible.
Yeah.
This is taxing enough.
There you go.
Yeah. Taxing enough.
Yeah.
It seems like a theme.
Yeah.
Maybe not for this podcast, not this episode, but maybe as the podcast as a whole. Haven't we been taxed enough?
Taxed enough already.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a slogan in there.
Yeah. If you think of it, write it down.
T. Taxed enough already.
Oh. Is that what Tea Party stood for?
That's where the Tea Party came from.
Jeez.
Yep. Taxed enough already.
Okay.
Yeah. We could start our own Tea Party.
I'm actually disappointed that I now know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
Okay. I thought it related to like the Boston Tea Party and stuff.
Well, I think it was one of those that was supposed to kind of play the both.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, but the taxed enough already just seems like a forced acronym.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Oh well. That's okay.
Oh, that was a loser movement anyway. So
Turns out.
Yeah. I mean, the Tea Party, all it really was just a movement against Obama. I mean, it didn't, to me, it never.
Wasn't like really a principled conservative movement.
It never felt like a principled movement to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's listeners that may disagree with me on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that there were a few principled people that were a part of it too.
Well, Rand Paul came out of it. Like, he came up through that Congress, through the Tea Party. So good things came. Like, I'm not like completely downing the movement, but it always kind of felt artificial to me.
There was something just recently, though, that he voted yes on that I was disappointed. Now I can't think of what it was. It might have just been Rubio's confirmation.
Oh, he may. I'm sure. Rand Paul, like from the time he got in, has been just more willing to play ball than his father, and I think a lot of that comes from watching his father. Like Rand Paul wants to, like as good as Ron Paul was, and as much as we love Ron Paul for standing on principle 100% of the time, you could count on it. I think Rand just says, sometimes you just got to make the votes to get some clout to play the bigger picture.
Accumulate political capital.
Yeah. Which like I say, I mean, we as libertarians, we're not exactly for all of that, but I think he's just playing a different game.
Yeah. If you're playing that game, then the Rubio confirmation is the right vote. Yeah. Because you're not winning that anyway.
Yeah.
It was 99-0.
Right.
I mean, what's the difference between 99-0, 98-1?
Yeah.
The difference is Rand Paul doesn't get anything he wants.
Exactly. He gets shunned.
Yeah. So I understand it in some respects.
And then you have Thomas Massey.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I like that guy a lot.
Dude, it's been crazy this week. He's had a hell of a week, man. I mean, Trump has went after him, and his fundraising.
Not for the first time either.
Not for the first time, which is what boggles my mind. You would have thought that Trump would be smart enough to remember that he's went after this guy before.
Yeah.
Unsuccessfully, and that he just wouldn't pick this fight,
Well, he made good with them after it too.
Yeah.
And at least according to Thomas Massey I think it was on the Tom Woods show, he was talking about it.
Yeah. Well, he did. Like I said, Massey supported him through the election. I mean, they had gotten good again.
Yeah. I've met him too, Massey, not Trump.
Yeah.
And he's just the nicest guy. He's just
so
really
what you
seems
see,
to be genuinely a nice guy.
Yeah, what you see is what you get. Then
It seems.
No, that's awesome.
I mean, you can always be politicking, but
yeah.
but he seemed genuine.
Yeah. Well, as much support.
I mean, I talked to him for like 5 minutes, so
yeah. Well, as much support as he has in his area or whatever. I mean, that would almost have to be the case.
Well, okay. So we should back up.
Yeah.
Talk about the controversy.
Oh,
and of course, the controversy was that Massey spoke out against this continuing resolution for the budget. And he's saying, hey, you know, we're already suffering from economic ill effects of these policies that you're talking about continuing in this resolution.
Yeah, which this
like,
hinders
hey,
Doge, by the way.
Yeah.
Passing this continuing resolution, I mean, it's just appropriating more money that Doge is trying to shut down. Yeah.
Well, and it's a lot of these policies created the inflation that Trump got elected on.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Which is where the stir-up was between him and Trump the first time, was over the COVID stimulus packages. Right. And Massey was saying then, he was like, this is going to be inflationary.
Yeah. We don't have the money for this.
We can't do it. So, I mean, we can do it, but we're going to pay the piper. And Massey's been proven completely right about that.
Yeah. And I think that he's got a reason. I don't know if he said this exactly because I haven't followed exactly what Massey's been saying about this. But but the fact is that if you went in there wanting to cut the fat and the American people elected you because of poor economic policy that led to high inflation and said, yes, people are supporting the Doge program to cut all the excess government stuff.
Yeah.
And you have a Republican majority in both houses of Congress.
Yep.
And a Republican president who went in there being the outsider saying that we're going to cut all this excess government stuff.
Who has a mandate.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump has a mandate right now.
And has been working at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That there has never, ever been a better time to actually cut that budget significantly.
Absolutely. And which is so wild because that's actually the argument that Trump, the inverse of the argument that Trump is making, because Trump's saying now's not the time.
Yeah.
And there's never been, the time will never be right. Like if you don't make it the right time.
Well, absolutely. And historically speaking, they've always said, well, we've got to pass this now so that we can get cuts later. And the cuts never come later.
They're not coming.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not, you know.
So the House has passed this thing at this point. The Senate has not. The last news I saw on it is that Congress passed a continuing resolution like through Friday.
Okay.
Or like through tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
To keep the government open. Let the government close. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, it looks like that may end up being what happens. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see.
Well, it was a very slim majority in the House. It was like 4 votes.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was close. I didn't know how close.
And
I didn't know how much of a mess Massey had made.
Yeah, Massey was the only Republican to vote against it, and there was one Democrat, I don't remember who, that voted for it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's amazing to me that the Democrats can be complaining about all the spending cuts and then vote against maintaining the spending.
Yeah, hypocrisy is strong.
Knows no bounds.
Yes, it's strong in DC, man. Like they can it's all politics, man.
What is the movie? Is My Hypocrisy known? Oh, it's Tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Val Kilmer is Doc Holiday. Yeah, I had that right. I don't know where I was going.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday sets that line. It's like, my hypocrisy knows no bounds.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's irrelevant.
Well,
totally irrelevant.
There's no hypocrisy in Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
He stands on principle. That's what he's done through this. He's, it's just.
I mean, in terms of the actual like interpersonal dispute here, the funniest thing to me was hearing that Trump had said that he was going to primary him.
Yeah, because he's already done that once.
Yeah,
it didn't work out.
Man, if the Israel lobby can't get Massey out,
yeah,
Trump's not getting Massey out.
Yeah, exactly. When it goes back to what we were saying is, I mean, he's just a good, likable guy, and that's like as far as his constituents are concerned, like that's I mean, he wins his primaries like in huge landslides, like, you know, and
He's
there's a
involved
reason
in
for
his
that.
community too.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at is like the people in his community know him and know him for who he is.
Yeah.
And that's the reason they've supported him the way they have.
Yeah. I mean, I have looked seriously about moving to his district.
Yeah.
Partly because it's his district.
Yeah.
Partly because of where it is in the country too. But like if I'm going to move to that part of the country, when I started looking, I was like, I went and found out where Massey's district was.
All right.
And started looking specifically there.
Seems to be pretty good people there.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be in the middle of bourbon country. It would be nice to be living between my brother and G.I. Greg. Like there's some things that are, it would be nice to live someplace where there are 4 seasons.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes I just feel like it would be nice to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
But once I started thinking, oh, well, you know, maybe I could move to the Midwest. The drawback is off the coast. God, I love living on the coast, man. I didn't realize how much I missed being on the water when I lived in Atlanta until I moved back here. Now I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that it's recognized is hard to, I was like, man, but the Midwest, like, no water. I mean, there's plenty of water, but there's not like a coastline.
Yeah, there's no beach.
Yeah. And I'm not big on the beach. I just like being on the coast.
Yeah.
Although I did like go down and sit on Pensacola Beach and watch the sunset like a couple of weeks ago. That was pretty nice, honestly.
The beach has its perks.
Yeah. Anyway, but when I started thinking about, like Kentucky might be a nice place to move, then I was like, hey, Kentucky might be a nice place to move because they have reelected Rand Paul, and this one district has reelected Thomas Massey several times.
Yeah.
Where is that district?
Should look into this place.
Yeah, and so I did.
Seems to be reasonable folks there.
Yeah. It's like I might get along politically. I mean, they won't totally agree with me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we got borders issues and things like that they would probably disagree with me about. But
yeah,
at least it seems like people that believe that government needs to just get out of your business.
Right. Hey, that's,
and at the core, hey.
that's what really matters.
Yeah. So, but he's just an incredibly popular representative where he is. And no matter what kind of clout Donald Trump is swinging, I don't think that he
ain't got it. No.
He could budge Massey out of that seat if Massey didn't want to go.
And Massey had a huge fundraising week this week because of this dust up.
Yeah.
So it's been good for Massey, and he's gotten a lot of good publicity. So
put him in front of the camera more and let him talk about the budget.
Well, exactly. I mean, I look at this as a win. Like, I mean, and honestly, like earlier in the week, I was saying like Trump could lose me over this. Because like I'm that strong of a supporter of Massey. But at the same time, I look at it and I'm like, well, this has been good for Massey. It's gotten him in front of cameras more. He's done good fundraising off of it. Like, and it's getting our message out there better. Yeah. So as much as
he's not even a libertarian.
Right? Exactly. So
yeah. Well,
I mean, this is a net win.
This was one of my big issues with Trump in his first term, is that it was always like, oh, well, we need to make government smaller. We need to cut the fat. We need to get rid of all these programs. We need to spend less. But he kept signing those budgets.
Yep. And we're in the same boat here. He's
exactly.
I mean, it's just kind of part of who Trump is. Trump is petrified that the economy is going to tank under his watch. And I think that's where his fear is at. And that's the reason he's willing to just go along with these budgets. I mean, he may want smaller government and to cut government, but he's too afraid to take the bold move because he's afraid of what the repercussions will be.
Well,
which he
this part specifically won't crash the economy. That's not the problem. If they cut the budget significantly, that's not the part that's going to crash the economy.
The funny thing is the thing that could crash the economy, and this is just my opinion, is the tariffs.
Well, yeah.
He could do it he's already came close. Mm-hmm. He ended up pulling those tariffs we were talking about last week back because the stock market tanked whenever he made the announcement. So like I say, that could be the catalyst for the collapse.
Yeah.
which would be all on him because like we don't support that stuff at all as libertarians. So
No, free trade all the way.
exactly.
If somebody else is producing it cheaper, so you can't produce it here at the same low cost, it's because you're doing something wrong. And actually, all those protectionist tariffs, they just limit innovation in the industry because you don't need it.
Yeah.
Like if you're having to compete with overseas markets that are doing it cheaper and better, then you got to figure out a way to do it cheaper and better.
Yeah.
If you just, but it's a whole lot easier.
To just say
Rather
you can't
than
buy
innovate-
those products
Yeah.
or you got to pay more for those products.
Rather than innovating in the industry, it's a whole lot easier to just go to the government and say, you need to help me out because the foreign markets are just killing me because I can't do it as well as them.
Part of the reason you can't do it as well as them, though, is because of some of the restrictions of government.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's that too. Not that I'm pro-tariff, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of what's standing in the way is the government. Instead of the businessman going and asking for tariff hikes, he ought to ask for something from the government, less regulation or something to help him be more profitable here.
Quit making me pay so much for my employees.
Yeah.
That would be like the single biggest thing. Quit
Yeah.
making me cover their health insurance. Quit making me cover all these other taxes and extra incentives. Quit making me provide all these other benefits for them.
Yeah.
Let that be a perk that I can provide if I want
Yeah.
to bring better people in or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't require it of me. And
Yeah.
don't stick your nose in my contract with my employee. It's none of your business. If I can get an employee to work for $5 an hour, I should be able to get the employee to work for $5 an hour. If I go to an employee and I say, I'll give you $5 an hour to do this, and he says yes, what does the government have to say about that?
You can't do that. You got to pay him 15.
This is actually one of the big changes in the way our government functioned in the last century plus, like in the 20th century and 21st century, is that there was a time when when people recognized and the government functioned with the idea that the government's responsibility in terms of contract was to make sure that the terms were enforced, to provide a safety net for people who had entered contracts and the contracts were breached.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, they decided that instead of enforcing the terms of contracts or enforcing contract law, they decided that they would rather interfere with the market and prescribe what the contract terms should be between businesses and between private individuals and between all these other entities within the market. Yeah. Instead of letting the market decide, the government decided that they wanted to be the person determining what the terms of the contract would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Through regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at some point along the way also, so like one of my favorite examples of this is the American Medical Association. Because when Medicare was introduced, the American Medical Association was against it, like hardcore against it.
Yeah.
But then the government actually enacted Medicare, and it turns out that if you subsidize payment for services, people demand more services.
Yeah.
If you artificially lower the price for a service, now, of course, the price wasn't actually lowered. It was just lowered for the consumer.
Yeah.
Then the demand for those services go way up. And the American Medical Association found out pretty quickly, like, wow, our profits have soared since Medicare. This thing's great. You know what we need? We need more government regulation of medical services. That's what we need, because that'll really push our profits through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's spiraled into the healthcare that we have today.
Yeah, you know, I've talked about this before, but people talk about, oh, well, healthcare is so expensive because of all this new technology, et cetera, et cetera. No, on an even dollar basis.
Yeah.
Like, so a constant dollar value basis. All these MRIs and all these other, all this great technology that we have that we've added into the medical field, the prices go down over time.
Well, I was going to say, how long have MRIs been around? At least 20 years, right? 25?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I'm thinking early 2000s.
That's just an example because that's the one that people always use.
Yeah, but the reason I bring it up, though, is because the technology is always expensive on the front. But the longer it's out there, the cheaper it becomes.
Yeah.
At least it should in a regular market.
Well, and the numbers bear that out. It's actually true in our health system that those high technology things, the prices go down in constant dollars over time.
Yeah.
The prices that have gone up and gone up and gone up and gone up are physician services fees.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason that our healthcare costs
That's where
are so
the money's
high.
going.
Yeah. The expansion in cost, the real increase in costs in medical services has been physician services fee. And part of the reason for that is that they organizations like the AMA have lobbied at the state level and the federal level to have control over the number of doctors that are permitted to be licensed and so forth. So they limit the supply to such a degree that, first off, doctors can't handle all of the patients that need them.
Yeah.
But because of that, their prices have gone way up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, it does cost a lot to get there.
Yeah.
And I understand trying to recoup those costs.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of the market.
Yeah. The doc that we haven't talked about on the show in a long time, but she had a $300,000 medical school debt.
Yeah.
When she finished school.
Yeah.
She's earning good income.
Yeah.
So, she'll be able to make up for it, but
that's
I bet
that's
there
the
would be,
overhead, though.
Especially with her personally. I'm pretty confident that she would trade income for a lower debt.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
And so, but the services fees have gone up because of the lobbying, because businesses have found that rather than competing with others in their industry, it's easier to lobby the government to raise the bar.
Yeah.
To limit competition.
And that goes on in every industry.
Yep.
That's the reason your car makers and all of these different groups are always lobbying for more regulation. It's not because they're looking out for the consumer. It's because that's the argument they want to make. It's because they know that they can choke out their competition this way.
Yeah. And limit other people from entering the industry.
Oh, well, there's that too, yeah, because it's such a high bar just to get in.
Yeah.
So
anyway, Thomas Massey's he's fighting the good fight.
Yeah, got to support him at every turn. Man.
That's what that was all about.
Long way around to say we're big fans of Massey on this podcast.
Yeah. But now's the time. If Trump really wanted to be an innovator, if he really wanted to buck the system, if he wanted to be an outsider, now is his greatest opportunity to have the biggest impact on the government in this country that's been had in a long time.
Yeah.
But he's not willing.
He's
to
scared.
Do it.
I mean, I like Trump for a lot of reasons, and this one, particular, not just the fact that he's pushing the CR like he is, but just the way he went after Massey was just disrespectful as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because Massey's clearly right. There's just no argument against it. Massey's just the only one that's willing to stand up and raise my hand and be the one.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those issues where Trump's narcissism is a real problem.
It is. Yep.
Because he's so concerned about his legacy that he's not willing to take the step that he should take and that he could take right now, and actually would be good.
It would
in the long run.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want to take the medicine though. He may have to take a little.
But he's somebody that could explain it. I mean,
he can.
There's a whole lot of people up there that are like, well, he's been a successful businessman. He knows what he's talking about. If he got up in front of the American people and he's going to all right, look, there's going to be hard times. But if we don't do this now, we're going to have way harder times for a lot longer period in the future.
And he has made that argument about the tariffs.
Yeah.
He's stood up and made that hard times argument about the tariffs. And he's wrong about the tariffs, but he would be right about
the budget. Yeah.
So it's just, but it's one of those things with Trump. You just, you don't know you get what you get with him.
Yeah.
He's good on things and he's bad on things. And this is just an area where he's bad.
Yeah.
It's just, you take the wins you can get, and you kind of just have to deal with the rest. Like with every politician, by the way. Like for the people who give, particularly me and others who have supported Trump crap, like this is the give and take with every politician. Like they're not all good at everything, except for the handful like Massey.
Yeah.
So.
All right, this is total non sequitur.
So I was gonna say we got a transition.
Yeah, total non sequitur. But I did want to talk. I don't even know that we've. Liberty Larry tells me that we've mentioned it on the podcast, but we haven't spent any time, any significant time. I don't think talking about it. I don't even remember mentioning it. So
I feel like we mentioned it. I could be wrong, but I feel like it came up at some point.
I did want to talk about the Republic of Korea, South Korea. Actually, I want to talk about Korea as a whole, because this is another one of these places where Trump could be really good and started to be in his first term and then gave it up.
Hey, he could end another war. He could add this to the
list.
This
would be a huge thing for his legacy, is if he re-entered negotiations with Kim Jong-un and brought an end to the Korean War.
Yeah.
Can't happen just yet, but there's opportunities coming up, potentially.
Okay.
And this is why.
Okay.
So, I can't remember the whole name, and I can't say it right anyway. So, the president of the Republic of Korea, which is South Korea, Yoon is his family name.
That's what we'll go with then.
We're going to go with Yoon.
Seems simple enough.
Yeah, even that one I'm not saying quite right, but whatever.
Yeah. We got to call him something.
Yeah, I can't twist my tongue just right. Anyway, so there's supposed to be a decision today, and before I looked before the podcast, and I didn't find any news. Like, it should be decided by now because it's late in Korea.
Yeah,
but there should have been a decision today about the impeachment of their president Yoon.
Okay.
Now this, he's not terribly popular. This is a hard conservative president. He's done some things that haven't been particularly appreciated. He's done some
like
things
declaring martial law.
Well,
that was later,
even
I guess.
before that.
Okay.
Anyway, so there was a question of impeachment in early December.
Okay.
And it was going to the National Assembly. They were going to vote on whether to impeach Yoon or not.
Yeah.
And in response, Yoon declared martial law to prevent the legislators from entering the National Assembly building to vote on his impeachment. Got the military out to keep the legislators out of the National Assembly.
Yeah. I would like to say, because I do think we talked about it briefly, but maybe not. Like, this created a panic, like, I'm sure in the country, but even like globally. Everybody was like, because nobody knew why he had declared martial law. It just kind of all of a sudden.
Nobody expected it.
Well, it came
they
out.
knew why, but
it came out of nowhere, though.
Yeah, they didn't expect that he would do that.
Yeah.
And he. It seems pretty clear that he declared martial law to protect his own presidency.
Yeah, attempt.
Yeah. Now there was a huge response from the population in Korea.
I can imagine.
But, it was all like through social media and so forth, and they had thousands and thousands of people descend on Seoul, regular citizens descend on Seoul and confront the Korean military to allow the legislators to enter the hall and vote on his impeachment.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was one of those people, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm super proud of her for that.
That was awesome.
Yeah. And so they ended up voting. Like, the guy was thrown in prison. They let him back out of prison. But there is a decision about his impeachment. And right now, there's not really anybody running the country. Like, there's no. That's not entirely accurate. They have a prime minister, so they're still government, but they don't have it. They don't have like a vice president that takes over when the president's out. Yeah. So, anyway.
So it's kind of like what we had the last 4 years.
Yeah, pretty much. We have useless president and a useless vice president.
Exactly.
So, not sure where this is going to go from here, but it seems like there's been a huge backlash to his actions.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's probable that the left liberal parties will take over Because once the decision is made, and I feel pretty confident that they're going to follow through on removing him from office and so forth.
That seems to jive.
Once that's done, they'll have new elections, and it seems probable at that point that the Left Liberal Party will win.
Yeah, it just seems like that's going to be hard for the other side to kind of come back from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when Obama won, like you just had 8 years of George W. Bush. Like it didn't matter who the Republicans put up.
And he didn't even declare martial law.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he didn't even go that far. So,
but this could potentially create, assuming that the Left Liberal Party wins.
Yeah.
It could create a real opportunity for Donald Trump to step in and end
negotiate
the Korean War.
Really?
Because the Conservative Party is opposed to détente with North Korea.
Okay.
But the Left Liberal Party, so when Trump was last in office, the president at the time, Moon, and I'm stopping there.
Okay. Yeah.
Moon was a Liberal Party president and actually kind of initiated it with Trump, like, hey, do you have a problem with me negotiating with North Korea?
Yeah.
And Trump was like, yeah, man, go for it.
Yeah.
Probably mostly just to piss off the establishment. But anyway, that was the origin of those talks that
Trump had.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember when all that was going on, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, well, I don't really remember the details. But that's,
you remember more than me.
So this could happen again, and if there's if the Liberal Party's in charge, there's a reasonable opportunity to enter negotiations again with North Korea and potentially finally end this war that started in 1950 something 4.
I don't know, but it's been going on for a minute. I know that.
And if, this is one of the advantages of Trump being so concerned about his legacy is because this would be...
It'd be big.
It would put him in the history books forever and ever.
Oh, yeah. And
I think he realizes that.
In an extremely positive light.
Yeah.
Like that's not something that could be taken away from him.
Yeah, and I can't remember where it came from now, but I did hear that somebody said that if he brought an end to the Korean War, that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize, and that's another thing that I think would, Trump would like to have on his mantle.
Yeah, that's a feather he wants in his cap.
Yeah,
I think it kind of sticks in his craw that Obama won it.
Yeah, probably. So I think that there's an opportunity potentially opening up here.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about Trump being in office right now is that I don't think that, given the same situation, I don't think that the Democrats would pursue peace in North Korea.
They wouldn't. There's no way they would. I mean, it's not. There's just no interest there for that.
Yeah, well, they would be legitimizing the leadership of North Korea or whatever.
And that's really the problem with the left right now is that's what you just said is kind of their their flagship. That's what they kind of stand on. You know, you can't legitimize the other side, regardless of who the other side is.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing that I think is a truth. I'm confident that the truth is that Kim Jong-un is far more dangerous when he feels like he's being ignored.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah. And so, negotiating, making him feel like he's a part of the system.
Bringing him into the fold.
Yeah, I think is the best thing that you could do for peace in that part of Asia.
Yeah. No,
no, that's not necessarily true because, although he has nuclear weapons, it can be a real problem. Doing that with China would probably be better. for peace in that part of the world. But Kim Jong-un really is a loose cannon. I understand the concerns about him.
Yeah.
But he's a looser cannon. He's really kind of tumbling about the deck if you're not even talking to him.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're talking to him and negotiating and bringing him in and making him feel like he's a part of the international system and so forth, I think that he is far less of a danger.
Yeah. Which is what needs to happen with a lot of these countries.
That's true.
That's just the whole idea of isolating countries we don't like it's just a recipe.
It's counterproductive.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It's not a good way to do business. Which literally you're not doing business when you isolate them. So
right.
It's just bad business.
And so that brings us around to the Russia stuff now.
Exactly.
So, like, I don't think so. The administration made a big deal out of that they had convinced Ukraine to agree to terms for a ceasefire.
Yeah, I heard that.
I don't think they should have said anything about it.
Yeah.
Because
Russia
Russia has made it very clear that they're not interested in a ceasefire. That they want a permanent peace, and that they have the upper hand right now, and they know it. And so why in the world, when you have made it very clear that all these agreements in the past have been just to bide time to build up the military strength of Ukraine, why would we let you have 30 days to rearm and rest and so forth?
to rearm Ukraine against you again.
When we're winning.
Yeah.
From the Russian perspective.
From the Russian side, yeah.
I want to make it clear that that would be the Putin perspective.
Yeah.
Is that, hey, we're winning this war right now.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable that we will win if we just continue. Yeah. So we can negotiate a lasting peace under our terms, or we can keep fighting. We're not doing this idea like, oh, well, we'll just take a break so that you get a chance to get your ducks in a row.
The one flip to that I will say is I've got to think that Putin understands that Trump is serious about ending this war.
I hope so. The things to do, I think that if you really wanted to be so we cut off aid.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the things to do is to say absolutely zero, no more shipments of any kind.
Yeah.
Military or fiscal.
Yeah,
to
we're
Ukraine.
just done.
We're completely cutting off all aid of any type to Ukraine, and we're pulling all of our people out.
Yeah.
Of every kind.
Yeah.
Intelligence, whatever. Yeah. Like they're all coming out
on their own. Yeah.
And so we would like to negotiate a peace in Ukraine, and if Ukraine's not on board with this, well, tough. We're not playing any other part. And while the Europeans are trying to play the big man right now,
they're just not big enough.
Yeah, the truth is that even though they, like we talked about last week, even though they're saying that they're ready to support Ukraine to the end, they keep throwing in this little caveat about that they need U.S. support.
Yeah.
And if the U.S. made it very clear that there would be no more support of any kind,
they're going to back off too.
I feel like the Europeans will pull out.
Well, and even if they don't pull out, they're just not the big man. No. I mean, we're the big man. Yeah. It's just like Trump said, we've got the cards here. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Europeans can support them, but they're just not capable of supporting to the level we can, and that's just what the reality is. And it would be wise for us to force that hand and show that
And it would be a big show to Russia that we are serious.
Yeah,
about bringing it into this. I think that Putin probably does believe that Trump really does want to bring an end to it.
Yeah.
At the same time,
he understands Trump is a negotiator.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna be baked into the equation.
The other part of that though is that Russia's made it very clear what their expectations are for a peace.
Yeah.
And ceasefire was not a part of it.
Yeah.
It was never a part of it. In fact, they made it very clear they don't want a ceasefire.
Yeah.
They want a peace, or they're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Under these particular terms. Like these 4 oblasts, they're either independent or Russian at this point. We are not abandoning our people to the Ukrainian government.
Yeah, absolutely.
And regardless of what you think about that, at this point, after the referendums where these 4 oblasts voted to join the Russian Federation, and they are primarily Russian-speaking, Russian ethnic areas of Ukraine. At this point, that's a legal thing for Russia, and they're very, I don't know, litigious isn't the word. That's what we are. But they are caught up into the legality of decision-making.
Yeah.
Especially on the international stage.
Yeah.
And so now that these referendums have been passed and they've been accepted into the Russian Federation, Russia views them as their citizens, their people. They're not leaving them behind Ukrainian lines.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
so Russia's made it really clear what their expectations are for a peace. They've made it very clear that they don't want a ceasefire except under very strict conditions.
Yeah.
And who's going to watch?
Yeah. Right.
And so the Trump administration touting the ceasefire agreement that they've made with Ukraine, and now they got to bring it to Russia.
It's going to be tough.
I mean, I have to think that Putin's saying, like, okay, cool. I think that you are serious about bringing an end to this, but I feel like you're not hearing me.
Yeah.
It seems like you're not listening to what I'm saying about this.
Well, the
And
fact that we had
he has the upper hand.
Well, the fact that we had to drag Ukraine to this conclusion anyway is a problem.
And that should give those skeptics out there some reason to understand why Russians wouldn't want to leave their ethnic, like other ethnic Russians, under the Ukrainian regime.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, people like to talk about that this invasion happened in 2022, and that's true. But this war has been going on so much longer. Yeah. And for the majority of this war, if you started in 2014, you can go back further if you want, really. But yeah, I mean, the main part of this war started in 2014 after the coup, the Maidan coup. And in that time, so Donetsk and Luhansk immediately declared their independence from Ukraine at that time.
Yeah.
They weren't happy with the overthrow of the president that they had elected. They didn't feel that the new president that was installed was their president. Not my president, they said.
Yeah.
And they declared independence. And the Ukrainian government has been fighting against them ever since. There's been a civil war going on in Ukraine ever since then. Yeah. And the Ukrainian government has been shelling civilian population and militants too. Obviously, there's resistance fighters. But the Ukrainian government has been shelling these two oblasts for all this time. Yeah. And then there was the Minsk agreements, and the Minsk agreements said that that those two oblasts would remain a part of Ukraine, but would get political autonomy, a level of political autonomy.
Yeah.
But they were never followed through. There was no follow through on that.
Yeah.
Like the agreement wasn't honored. And it wasn't that it wasn't honored by the Russians. It wasn't honored by Ukraine and Germany and France. And since then, the presidents at the time of France and of Germany have come out and said, well, we never intended to follow through on this. It was just to buy time so that we could get Ukraine ready for a war with Russia.
Yeah.
And so why in the world, like we talk all the time about how you hear it in the American media all the time. You can't trust Putin. You can't trust Putin. You go back on a deal. But you got to understand that from the other perspective, from the Russian perspective, you can't trust America. You can't trust America. You can't trust the West. They will always go back on a deal because they've had the same kind of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Both sides have been very go-backy.
Yeah. There's been some reneging.
Yeah.
And so it's not unreasonable for Russia to say, yeah, I mean, it's nice of you to talk about these things, and we wish we could trust you, but right now we're just winning. So we're going to keep going, and if we can come to an agreement to end this conflict permanently, great.
Yeah, but it's going to be on their terms.
But it's going to be on our terms.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes nothing but sense.
Yeah, and the only way to prevent that is for the West to get involved on the ground in Ukraine. And there's a lot of bluster from like France and the UK.
Yeah.
But like we talked about on the last podcast, the UK has like 20 or 30,000 troops that they can put in Ukraine. It's not going to matter. And, France's military is just a joke and has been for a century.
Yeah, right. Wow.
That's not fair to them.
They have a military. Hey, they got nukes, right?
I mean, but we're going to follow through with the joke here.
Yeah, yeah.
But the truth is that France's military couldn't affect the outcome.
Yeah.
They could maybe slow things down. Yeah. The only way that this ends any other way than the way it seems to be ending right now is if the U.S. gets involved with troops on the ground in Ukraine. And we don't want to do that.
No, that's the last thing we want to do.
And the truth is that, like, the French government and the UK government can talk about how they're ready to sacrifice men's lives on the ground in Ukraine to protect Ukraine, but their people
won't tolerate
probably aren't.
Yeah.
And our people aren't either.
Well, it'll be very short-lived. It won't take long for the body bags to start showing up and that the people start really creating a stink.
Yeah.
You really want things to flip on Ukraine, start sending some body bags home. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, and so there's other talk about, well, Russia can't even protect its own territory. There's such a weak military that the Ukraine was able to push into Kursk, and like they still hold some territory in Kursk.
Yeah.
But Putin issued a statement maybe yesterday, recently anyway, that said to the Ukrainian troops in Kursk, like, okay, well, you can surrender or we'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like they're taking it.
Yeah, it's coming
really
back
fast now.
Yeah.
Like there's almost nothing. There's almost no control left. They've cut off any escape from Kursk.
Yeah.
They're closing in on those troops that are left in Kursk, and they're going to end it really soon.
Yeah.
And he also said that they're not being treated as enemy combatants. They're being treated as terrorists under Russian law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because that they went in and attacked civilian areas.
Yeah.
So going into Russia and attacking civilians violently defines them as terrorists under Russian law. So
yeah,
not good for them.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're gonna end up in one of those prisons.
Yeah, you might want to just fight to the death at this point. Like,
right.
I don't know if that's any better.
Yeah.
Truth is that like Russia is not the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same. Prisons aren't quite the same. I still wouldn't want to be in one.
I was going to say, yeah.
But I don't want to be in one here either.
They're probably worse here than they are there.
They might be. The UK thinks so.
Yeah, they're bad here. Like I say, I'm just saying.
Especially as a terrorist.
Yeah, right.
Go to Guantanamo.
Oof.
That several presidents have told us that they were going to close.
Oh no, Trump's putting it to use. What you talking about?
He didn't say he was going to close. He
never said. As far as I know, he never said he was going to close it, but he's definitely putting it to use.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I mean that's more or less what I have to say on the matter. I think. I'm glad that Trump's trying to follow through and find a peaceful conclusion to this. I think that he might be a little short-sighted in terms of the way it's going to end because, again, unless the U.S. wants to get involved in a land war against Russia,
no appetite for that,
then we can't just swing our weight around and and bully them into doing it our way.
Yeah.
We can't. They're in control of the situation at this point. And they are always going to be, like we were saying on this podcast 3 years ago.
When this all started,
yeah. But nobody was listening.
Wow.
There were dozens and dozens of people listening, but
it's not that the people weren't listening. It's that there was a lot of people who disagreed with us. I'll put it that way.
Oh man, I ended up in that. I had that argument so many times with people out in the world.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to some of those people again today.
Yeah.
See, you remember 2.5 years ago when I said that Russia had already won this war?
Dude, I talk to people who still believe that Ukraine's got the upper hand.
Yeah.
And it's your media lying to you.
It's the power of propaganda.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
It's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
But people aren't willing to look up things for themselves or find better information. People are way too trusting.
Yeah.
And you would think that, like, no matter which side of the political aisle you were on, you would think that at this point there had been enough just absurdity from mainstream media.
That people would do a little homework.
Yeah. You would have some level of skepticism.
Yeah.
But I guess not.
Not enough.
Definitely not enough. We're about 50 minutes in. We could close out here at a time that we are that we have tried
that we generally shoot for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I've got anything else. I mean, there's some other things out there, but nothing I've looked into enough to really talk about.
All right.
Well, no, I take that back.
Okay.
I would like to just mention that it does look like Trump is going to do away with the Department of Education.
Okay.
and dissolve it down. I mean, he keeps saying he wants to dissolve control back down to the states. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just to me it kind of feels like the budget.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I hope I'm wrong.
Do you don't think he'll follow through? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's going to be one of those like we're going to cut around the edges until we can find the things where we can really get rid of it, but that'll just never.
We'll
happen.
see. I have to disagree with you on that though. I think that this.
Well,
is
I hope
coming.
you're right.
I think this is coming.
I feel like I've been burned a little bit by him, and so now
I get it, and you may be right. Like I'm not saying 100% this is going to happen, but my feeling of it is that he means this one.
I'm preparing myself to be disappointed.
To be disappointed, yeah, I get it. But it looks like this is probably going to happen, and it'll be good. Like I say,
yeah, it'd be great.
It'll be a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I guess time will tell.
But then we can't force Bill Gates' education plan on everybody.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of people that are upset about that.
I'm sure that there are.
There's a lot of powers that be that are working behind the scenes. I'm sure to try to do away with.
The goal of the math program isn't to make students proficient in math. What?
How can that not be the goal? But I mean, you're not wrong though. Like, I mean,
no, there's a guy on. I think we might have played the clip on this podcast. I'd have to go search and see if we still have it.
It sounds familiar.
But yeah, there was a guy for Common Core, one of the math program designers for Common Core.
Yeah.
When asked about it, said that.
That was his response?
Yeah, his response was, well, the goal isn't to make the students proficient in math. Like, then what is the goal? What other goal would there be?
Oh, man.
Unreal, these people.
Yeah.
Don't let your government educate your kids.
Yeah. It's a tough thing, man.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap up so that before we end up down some other pathway that leads for another 10 minutes. And we're like, man, we went over an hour again.
Yeah.
Why did we do that?
I don't think I have anything else.
All right. Excellent. Let's stop.
All right.
Okay. So we'll be back next week. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook. You can subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean. Like and share, comment, subscribe. You can always email me at michael@thelibertymike.com. Tell your friends. All of the interactions help, help us with that algorithm, guys.
Yeah.
It's that algorithm. It's tough to crack.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the interactions help us a lot. So we appreciate all that from everybody. And like I said, questions, comments, news stories you want us to cover, anything, or if you just want to say hi, I like that too. Michael@thelibertymike.com. And so we'll be back next week when we finally get this right. And in the meantime, try to stay free.
Life's short, live free.
Ciao.
Later.